Good morning, guys. It is 5:45 Mountain Time. So for those of you who are on the East Coast, you might actually be here live. For those of you who this is an ungodly hour like it is here, hopefully you enjoy the replay. What I wanted to talk about today is building a Sabbath Day Farm. And this has been something that has been replaying over and over in my mind recently as I've been working to get my kids to church every week, to make sure that we are giving, being able to worship God on Sunday, and also that we are living the rest of our week in a way that gives Him glory. And I have found that on the weeks that we can't get to church because we're busy working on the farm, or if it's a week where we did get to church, but we were exhausted because we had to get our chores done first, and then when we got home, we knew we had to do chores, I found that it really took away not only from our Sabbath worship, but also from the rest of our week. That being so harried and in such a big hurry made, even though we made it to church, made it an uncomfortable, unhappy day. And the blessing that having a Sabbath day gives your farm is that in order to have a Sabbath day and not be running around doing all your chores on the Sabbath, you have to have systems in place that would allow you to do that on any day. So the first scripture I wanted to read, I'm not preaching here. These are just the thoughts that have been in my mind and the scriptures that I've read that have been very profound to me as I've come to God in my own prayers about the exhaustion or the frustration. Hey, Christy, how are you? All of the things I've come to God with in prayer, the solutions that have come to my mind have all kind of revolved around have a Sabbath day farm. Turn your farm into a Sabbath day farm, and then these problems will be solved. The exhaustion, the snappiness with my kids when I feel like a job wasn't done well enough, or when I'm too tired to do the job and I have to send the kids out to do it. It has all come down to a creation of a routine and a life that revolves around the Sabbath. So here's the first scripture. This is Genesis 2:2, and it says, "On the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made." I'm just going to check that off once I've read it. Again, not preaching, just telling you the things that have been revolving in my mind. So again, we were struggling there for a while, especially after COVID. We were really struggling getting back to church and feeling rested and feeling restful and feeling like we had spiritual revival. And it was exhausting to try and get all of our garden stuff so that things weren't dying on Sunday, or that the animals weren't killing themselves going through a fence on Sunday so that we couldn't go to church. So there's my first scripture, Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. And this is what I have written down that helps with that. First off, automate everything that you can. So for me, that means soaker hoses. That means larger water troughs. That means appropriately sized water troughs so that you don't have animals falling into water and drowning, and you don't have so little water that animals are thirsty. Make sure that all of your receptacles can last for 24 hours. Shade is a big one. Make sure they have shade instead of having to go out every couple hours and worrying and wondering, because you have your animals in a place where they can't be self-reliant. Make sure to build self-reliance into the structures. Larger feed containers that are mixed in a way that the animals can't make themselves sick or by eating too much, and also that they won't be hungry because the container's not big enough. The last one is eliminate cages when you can. Now I'm working towards a project where the rabbits are not in cages anymore. Our ducks, our chickens, our sheep, our goats, they are all able to be at least moderately free range. They all have a shed or a shade, big water containers, and then free feeding for hay and mineral hoppers. Now, I didn't always do it that way. And the reason I didn't always do it that way was because I just didn't see a need and I didn't want to spend the money. But as I've studied this more and I've realized how tired I can be and how unkind I can be towards my children when I'm under stress, the more I realized that if I just built it around the Sabbath day so that I could actually leave the farm and not worry, then on any day of the week, I could leave the farm and not worry. And I don't need to snap at my kids because the bowls were so small, they really literally had to go out and refeed the rabbits 3 times a day because I didn't want to spend the $6 to get a hopper that was big enough. It makes a difference. All right, so those are my solutions. Now, let's see if I can get my other scriptures. And you guys are welcome to chime in. I know there's a few of you watching. You're welcome to chime in. Michigan lady, good morning. My next scripture is Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12. And it says, moreover, also I gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am the Lord that sanctify them. I think that having Sabbath day on a farm, it used to be, at least in our area, I grew up in an area that is LDS, and everybody used to farm. The scriptures are about people who were farming. And so for those of us in modern society saying, I'm too busy, I cannot farm, or I'm too busy, I cannot go out on the Sabbath day, I cannot rest on the Sabbath day, I'm just too busy in my modern life. So they were farmers all through the Bible. They were farmers, and they were farmers without a hand pump on a well. They were drawing buckets, or they had windmills that would pull water up, that kind of thing. And I know in my area, for my ancestors that were LDS, they would actually do their chores in the morning and go to church. And then at lunchtime, they would come home, do a little check on their animals, and then go back to church. And they had built that into their Sabbath day so that they weren't working on the Sabbath, but they were checking on animals on the Sabbath. They didn't spend the whole day at church. They didn't spend 3 hours at church. They spent about an hour at a time at church, and then they could go home and check on their animals. For these, a lot of their animals would have been free range. And so most of the time, as long as they did some preparation, it was okay on the Sabbath just to not do labor themselves. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Deborah. And I think what it comes down to is kind of connecting ourselves, connecting our sail, attaching our lives to something that has purpose, also blesses our lives. By choosing a day for resting, we organize the rest of our lives around magnificence instead of drudgery. Does that make sense? So the results of having a Sabbath day that I have found in my life are more love. Instead of me picking at my children and telling them they're not doing good enough because why are the animals out of food or water again? Instead, I replaced the receptacles, and what my children felt towards me was love, because they saw how hard I was working to take the drudgery out of their lives so that they only have to do very minimal amounts of chores, minimal amounts that can be done in like 15 minutes a day. More patience. By analyzing the overabundance of work that my kids and I were doing, I looked and saw just how hard they were having to work to try and keep the farm going on a shoestring without the right equipment. And so by looking at the amount of work they were doing and seeing that they literally couldn't get it done in order for us to be able to go to church and to rest on a Sunday, I had to be more patient with them and listen to them better and say, oh, this is why you're not done in time, or this is why you had to do it again. It wasn't their fault. It was that I had not prepared a big enough reservoir of care on the farm so that it could go 24 hours without our assistance. More ease. It meant that most days stopped being hectic. We could get big projects done during the week without having to stop every 5 minutes to go check on the animals or to go do something in the garden. Everything was built in, which freed up our time, which meant more big projects got done, which meant that I calmed down and I didn't feel so hectic. Good morning, Lars. Noon in Denmark. Everything is good here. Thank you. In the end, with the homestead, the outcome has been more abundance. It has really blown my mind to see as my goal was not to make everything run smoother. My goal was to be able to take one day off a week to reestablish my connection with my family and with God. That was my goal. But as I was doing this, the result is that we had more abundance. As I started to do this, and as my goal was, well, we're going to make it to church day without stress. What can I do this week to take away the stress of daily chores so that when Sunday comes, it's already done? We fill up hoppers once, fill up their feeders once. My goal is, the goal that I want to get to is that I fill things up on Saturday night and they will last until Monday morning. That is my goal. I'm not there yet, but I'm very, very, very close. But the result of that is more abundance. I am not sure how exactly that works, but that is what I have found, is that by changing the systems, everything is happier, but it's less work for us. And during the week, when I have things that are selling or I have extra of something, I have found that the abundance has poured in as I have focused on making sure to keep that one day a week open for God. Good morning, Grace. So that is what I have found. And then let's see, my last two scriptures. This one I thought was really good. Did I already tell you the last one was Ezekiel 20:12? Okay. So, and then we have Isaiah chapter 58, verses 13 to 14. And this one I loved because it sounded very gentle and more of an invitation to closeness and an invitation to reprieve from the hardships that are our daily work. This one, I really liked it. Isaiah 58, 13 to 14. If you turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord. And I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. I thought that was really fantastic. I want the Sabbath day to be a delight. I think sometimes we look at Sunday as a day of things that we cannot do. And I'm working really hard on seeing it as a day to regroup, a day to journal, a day to evaluate my relationship with my children, a day to revel in my animals and look at them in their beauty, but not have to touch anything that is happening with them, and to just have some peace. Not only that, but that for there kind of to now be a mark on my home that I respect the Lord and that I'm blessed by the Lord. I really want to attach, what do they say? Attach my boat to a star. How does that phrase work? I want to be openly seen to be affiliated with God in my farm. And I think in order to do that, we have to observe the Sabbath day. Good morning, Karen. So that is really all I had for you guys today. It's been really important to me that I do this. So far, I'm still working. I've improved the rabbit cages so that it's less work, but I really want to get them out of cages. Any animal that's in a cage needs constant supervision and caretaking. And I'd really like that not to be the case for any of my animals. And I think that also pleases God, because then the animals have a happier life and we receive more abundance from each other. I think when we take the welfare of our animals as a top priority, and for me, I would feel better if my animals were not cages. I haven't figured it all out, but most of my animals are free range at this point. And we are going to take some of this off. Very strange things. Hold on a second, guys. There, I think I got it. So again, that was really all I had today. I do issue a challenge to all of my viewers to build ease into your homestead wherever you possibly can. In the garden, I only water once a week. And I do it in the cool of the morning, and I have cut my garden down so that I can do it without stress. So I don't do that on Sunday. Oh, I forgot my last scripture. It is Luke chapter 14, verse 5. There is an exception on the Sabbath, and that is Luke. I don't know if I would say it was necessarily an exception. Maybe that's the wrong word. When an animal's life is in danger, you go rescue your animal. 14 verse 5, Luke 14 verse 5. It is, and they answered him, saying, which of you shall have an ass or an ox fall into a pit and will not straightway pull him out on the Sabbath? And this was the chapter where it talks about Jesus healing on the Sabbath day, and that the Pharisees said, wait, you're healing on the Sabbath day. That's not lawful. And then the reply back was that I'm not going to try and interpret the scripture for you. I'm just going to say that's what it is, but that he thought it was okay to heal people on the Sabbath. And he brought up the example of if you have an animal that is in dire straits, that is in pain or is having an emergency, that you save them. So we're not supposed, from what I take on that, we're not supposed to be doing labor, redundant labor. So for us, the one thing we can't skip, unless there is a work in for that. You don't even have to milk on Sunday if you leave your baby animals on their mothers. If you leave baby animals on their mothers, then you can just let baby animals nurse on a Sunday. And that's what we were doing until we weaned some babies, but you can leave babies on for quite a long time. And so what we would do is we would separate the babies at night, milk the moms in the morning during the week. And then on Sundays, we would just leave babies with moms all day long. And that way we didn't even have to milk. Hey, Pilch, how are you? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you forever. Kathy Cook, good morning. Christy said, God gives us a Sabbath day because of his love for us. Yes, and I think rest is really built into his plan. If he himself rested after on the seventh day, I don't know if that means he needs rest, but I think he believes in rest. I don't think he believes in drudgery, but I can't put words into God's mouth. Chrissy Bett said, my grandmother prepared her Sabbath meals the day before, but quoted the ox in the ditch. Yeah. Kindness Connection said, I don't eat my friends. If you look into the eyes of any animal, you can see their gentle souls. They are gentle souls. And that is true. I try very hard to feed and care for my animals very well. And I also recognize that my animals were given to me for a purpose. And I do try very hard that they not suffer and that they have good lives. And we do eat animals on our farm. Rinjani Farm, hello. Lars said, nice to see you again. Missed out on a few videos because you changed the name of your channel. Guess I'm a bit slow. Got to get back to work. Take care. Bye, Lars. Okay, so that was really all I had. What I'm aiming for in the future is to not have to touch the animals at all on Sunday. But I recognize that it takes time. It takes time to build new systems in. It takes time to analyze whether or not they're working well enough. The welfare of my animals is paramount. And so I'm not just doing this and just listening to the cries of suffering animals in the background and thinking, oh, it's a Sabbath, I can't do anything. Instead, I'm trying to be very strategic and remove as much of the work on Sunday as possible. One of the things I do is on Sundays, the girls don't do chores. On Sundays, I go out and I do the chores for the girls. I let them sleep in. I take it very, very slow. And I don't bring the milk into the house. I actually just feed the milk to the pigs on Sunday. So rather than bringing it in and straining it and putting it in the fridge for our own use, I take out a dirty pig bucket, I milk into the dirty pig bucket, and then I immediately give it to the pigs. And that way I'm eliminating as much work as I possibly can. And again, when we had baby animals on the goats, we used that as a way to eliminate some of the work as well. And I think that's all I've really got to say. As far as the bull and the mire, things that for me are an exception. Sometime here in our area, we water with flood irrigation. And if my neighbor has the water on a Sunday and then it's supposed to be my turn, and he calls me at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, I have to take that water or go without water for the week. And so could I not water on Sundays? Yes, I could make that decision. That's not the decision I've made, though. I do run out and I water for an hour and get it done very quickly and then turn it off. I don't know how to get around that at this point, but that is one exception. And it's only happened once where he actually gave it to me on a Sunday. And we still made it into church. But I did have to run in and wake the girls up to do chores with me because I was watering. And so that kind of ruined that dynamic a little bit. Anyway, I have found that as I work on this, my children feel more appreciated. Their labor has gone down. Their ability to rest, even during the week, has gone up. My understanding of the things they've been complaining about with chores has gone up. And so our relationship has improved. And instead of me sniping and being kind of that cranky, nasty mom on Sundays where I'm trying to get everybody to hurry and I'm not being very pleasant, that has gone away. And it's been really wonderful. So I highly recommend it. Also, I feel like if as a nation we were Sabbath day observers, we would receive wisdom and we would receive insight into what we could do to bless our country, because we would have God as the guy that makes the plan for our week. And when he starts to be in charge of our week, he can take charge of other things. That's what I think. So, all right. Ranjani Ranch said, I've struggled with this topic and spoken to my pastor about it. He said that he gets this question a lot. The one about what work you can do on the Sabbath. Okay. Well, that's it. We are, as I look at the worries and the struggles, and I try really hard not to watch news feeds right now because I feel very powerless to change things. I have found that the more that I say my prayers and make sure I'm going to a church that is based on biblical teachings, the more I have found answers to my problems and my questions, and the more I found solutions that were within the realm of me actually succeeding. Sometimes I think when I go to God and I say, fix this, I'm not actually first listening to what his requirements are for fixing it. And a lot of times just by kind of bringing myself closer to what he's asked me to do, those solutions just fall into my lap along the way. It's been quite an interesting journey. Karen said, God gave us a Sabbath commandment and asked us to remember. Many people forget how important it is. I observed the 7th day Sabbath, which is Saturday, but great job making time for rest, and God bless. Thank you for that comment. I like that. Yeah, to remember. One thing that I'm working on, I'm not getting it right, is what do we do on the Sabbath day? I like to rest, but I don't want to have sloth on the Sabbath day. And so, again, journaling, reading books that make me feel closer to God, going to church, maybe going for a walk. We have eliminated computers and audiobooks and music that is worldly on Sundays. We ask the girls to stay off computers, and we stay off computers ourselves on Sundays. And we try to listen to the sounds of nature and other things rather than, sorry guys, rather than I don't remember what I was saying. Sorry, guys. I was trying to take off something that's been kind of gross. Because I don't think it's just sloth. I don't think the Sabbath day is just about laying around. And I'm really trying to fine tune what I think it should be and what it means besides going to church and eliminating, media. Anyway, there we go. I hope that's helpful. I really think that by having your week attuned to these questions and these solutions, you'll find reprieve from your frustrations and from the answers that you can't seem to be able to find, or even from resources. I have found that the resources I needed as I've been working on this project have just literally fallen into my lap. People who can solve problems for me, income that I wasn't expecting, and that was just enough to solve a problem as I needed it. Having Paige come back from high school to help with projects, and now we're getting big projects done, but we're doing it in a much more laid back way. That kind of thing. Karen said, acts of love for others and walk in nature, observing God's creation are great alternatives to laziness. I like that. Maybe that's what I should do. I don't really like to go into the gym on a Sunday, and I'm trying to figure out how to not require other people to work for me on Sunday, like eating in town or going to a gym where, other people are. So yeah, I think maybe that's my Crest Creek walk day, is to go up to Crest Creek, and it's a longer walk and it's a longer drive, but it takes a few hours to do it, and I could take the dog, and that would be nice. Another thing that is wonderful is like muesli in the mornings for breakfast. You don't have to cook it. Or like, I don't remember who said their grandmother pre-cooked her meals on Saturdays. Having like pre-cooked liver or pre-cooked meat, pre-cooked rice, things like that in the fridge the day before. And even starting a crock pot that would be ready for dinner can all be done. I think the Instant Pots and things like that are a great blessing to those who are trying to observe the Sabbath, for moms especially. And things like, let's see, other things from our homestead that could just be in the fridge. Yogurt, again, pre-cooked meat. Yeah, that's the one I'm working on, is these little things can really get past you. You think you're not doing labor, and then you look down at your hands and you're like, well, what do you call this? This is still labor. This is still something I do on my normal weekly basis. And I don't think we should look at it as like a punishment or a call to be better. I think what it is it's a gift that allows us to analyze our lives and be purposeful, to choose what we think is pleasurable and restful on the Sabbath, and to analyze our actions, kind of like a day planner lets you analyze your actions and see what the extra is and cut it out, the undesirable things, and cut it out by having a Sabbath day. So maybe that's what the remembrance is part of, is the analyzation of what is my true purpose in life, what is it God really wants me to do, and move towards that, instead of just going by the rote, going by the habit, going by the, this is what I've always done, so it's what I'm going to keep doing. And so if on Sabbath days we're really focused on, why am I doing this? Is this something essential? Is this something I could cut out? Could I be more purposeful by having that be our purpose and our focus? How could we change our lives if every week you have a full day of analyzing whether or not your life is in line with where you want it to be and where God has been telling you to go? Hello, JK. Ranjani said, I observe the Sabbath from sunset Friday until Saturday at sunset. My pastor said that observing the spirit of the commandment is his thought, yet he was quick to add that it isn't in the gospel. Christy said, yes, she cooked on Saturday, just warmed it up after church. They would a lot of times have the visiting preacher over after church. I love that. What a kindness. I think so much of the time when we think of Sabbath, we think of, well, I can't do this and I can't do that, and this isn't fair, and Mom, why won't you let me? And one of the reasons I do chores for my kids on Sunday is I want to let them rest. A lot of times they work harder than I do. But by letting them rest on Sunday, I build into them an appreciation for Sunday, because I literally am just asking them to rest. And at this point, I do let them read their books, but that's all. They can read books, and that can be their version of rest. And I really like that. And, you know, I feel like there's a lot of times when I looked at Sunday and I thought, well, this is my day, and what I enjoy doing is farm work, so I should just go do more farm work on Sunday, because I'm letting my kids rest. I'm just the one going out and doing the work. And I feel like by doing that, I demean my own worth to God as a mom. Just because I'm a mom doesn't mean that I don't also need to readjust my thinking and to readjust my path. And instead, I think I need to be really careful not to turn motherhood into drudgery, not to turn my motherhood into something that doesn't respect me also as a child of God. And so I think I need to build in rest to my week too. Hey Robert, how are you? Karen said, good idea. Jesus gave us a lot of teaching about observance, like when his disciples harvested wheat to eat because they were hungry. Yeah, and they were harvesting to eat. They were not there harvesting to store. Weren't, at least that's my understanding, is they were actually walking through the corn and gathering it to eat as they walked. They were not out there with a scythe, cutting it and getting ready to put it into a barn in order to make money for themselves. That's one thing that I struggle with, is a lot of times if a person will call and ask to purchase something on a Sunday, like an animal, a lot of times I'll say yes out of greed. And I think I've had other people, when I've had dealings with them, that have declined to purchase or sell on Sunday. And I've appreciated their character, and I've appreciated their respect of their own beliefs, that they're not going to buy and sell, even though they would make money doing it. And I would like to be wiser and stronger and calmer to be able to say no to sales on Sunday. I think that my practices in the week would be blessed more if I would observe that. Christy said one visiting preacher was diabetic and there were no restaurants in the country. So what a blessing because she had food ready to be able to have the pastor over. That's amazing. At our church, we often break our fast at the pastor's house. We will bring them food from the farm, like an animal or fish from our neighbor or greens, and they will cook it. They're really good cooks, and we will break our fast on Sunday, generally lunch. We'll eat it as a church family, and it's really wonderful. Ranjani said, I need to get out to water and feed. Lots to do before sundown. Yikes. Thanks for addressing this topic. I take care. God bless you and your family and all viewers. Thank you. See ya. All right. And I need to get kids up for us to go do chores. And hopefully this is helpful. And thanks for tuning in. And we'll talk to you later.